This is the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. We're talking all things coaching, concepts, tips, tools, self-coaching, mindset, faith foundations, and definitely entrepreneurship, because I want to support your calling as a coach and help you build a thriving online business with God as your CEO. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Here we go. Today, I have a special treat. We're talking with Eve. She's part of the Greenhouse course, and she's getting her training and certification through Sterling & Stone as a life coach. She's a fantastic woman. We've been working together for many, many months, and she's growing. She's taken a lot of imperfect, massive action and just jumping in there in the midst of, life is happening. She's got a job. She has a son. She's got things going on in life like all of us. And yet she's going after something that she feels called to. And I've been very proud of her, really honored to work with her. And we ended up in a very long session. I'm actually going to break that session down for you so you can hear what comes out of it. She's given me permission to just share it on the podcast as a life coaching episode. And I think it'll be really beneficial to you if you are a coach, or you want to become a coach, or you want to start your business. Listen to this with ears that can contextualize the content to you. But it's a great way for you to hear someone else in the process of, I know that I want to coach. I'm pretty solid about who I want to coach and how I want to help them. I don't know how to say it. And I don't know how to say it in a way where I can find clients. What do I do? How do I go about it? So this is going to be a couple of different episodes because they were pretty long, and I want you to take this and contextualize it to your own coaching practice and business if that's something that you're stepping into. And without further ado, let's talk to Eve. So I think that you getting a process in place definitely will help streamline your situation. It might take 6 months, but if you know what all your next steps are, it doesn't have to take 6 months if you do it, because if you are actually, I know that the biggest problem for, I think, all of my clients, the biggest piece is, where do I find the people to coach?
Yes.
And until you have a podcast or something that is your organic marketing tool, like how do you go find them? Where do you get them? How do you just start? We are coaches, which means we like to connect and we like to collaborate and we like to have a relationship with somebody. And so we're not naturally, most coaches are not marketers at heart. And then we have to learn how to sell what we can do, like how we can help somebody. But really it comes down to learning, and it took me a long time to learn it, but it just comes down to actually putting yourself where people are, finding the ones that are your ICA, which means you have to do the ICA research. So you have to know who they are. And then when you find them, you naturally want to help them. So you go ahead and just naturally be you, because help will come out of you. It's like but it's natural that if you're a coach, it's kind of just natural for it to flow out. But it's finding them, but it's also because it's an online world, and we're not all, what are you going to do? Say to the person in the line at the grocery store, strike up a conversation. Some people have a personality where they can do that. And then just turn it into, well, I'm a coach. And, if you ever want help with that, here's my card. Some people can naturally do it, but other people aren't going to naturally do it. And so what do? You can do all of this stuff online. You can go into the Facebook groups and start really just digging in and saying things and offering value. And there's benefit to that. I really still believe like the organic marketing platforms of video and podcast and blogs where people can find you because they're looking for you. It is
best marketing tool to
Yeah,
have something like that.
I
But in
agree.
interim, it took me a while to get clients from my podcast because it took a while for my podcast to be found.
Right,
When you first start something and put it out there, you have to figure out how do you go share it everywhere. And if you're
right,
not sharing it everywhere, it takes time for people to start just for it to start coming up when they put something in the search bar. But
right,
it really is in the long run the best case scenario because they go and they put in the search bar like a mindset coach. I
right,
want mindset coaching. And then
right,
they find your podcast or video channel or blog because they already want what you offer. And if they like the way you present it, the way you
right.
equip and encourage, then they, the know, like, trust, and then choose factor grows.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is that in between of like, how do I start coaching?
Right.
Get it, like you were saying, like, get out of your head,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
what you're taking all this passive action and building
Yeah.
a website because you don't want to coach in your coaching
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
because why? Like you have to stop and think about that. What
Yeah.
is, do you know what that is for you? Like why you don't like want to get out there or want to coach or want to say it? Like what is it that it feels like that makes you kind of buffer or take other action or
Well, I feel like, and I don't know if it's just the area that I live in or the world that I live in, but I feel like for the most part, most people don't even know what life coaching is. So
Mhm.
I feel like there has to be this whole dialogue on what life coaching can do. And honestly, I'm just tired of saying it. I just want people who are ready. I don't have, and this is a personal problem. I don't have the energy to groom people into making them decide this is what they want to do.
Right.
And I think that that is my struggle. It's like not only I mean I don't mind putting things out there. This is what I do, this is who I am. It's that whole why moving people from they don't know they have a problem to recognizing their problem. I think, and that of course is the first stage, because in my mind I've already decided they need a coach, so we just need to start there, but that's not how it
Efficiency,
works, right?
people. Efficiency.
Yes, exactly.
Let's
We're
just do this.
wasting time, let's just go. But I know that's not how that works. So like I tell people, like when I'm at work at the hospital, I tell people all the time I'm working on my coaching business, and but now I'm like, so well, first of all, then I feel like I've got to have something to refer them to. There's no point in me just putting out motivational quotes and stuff and then unless I'm going to go into the full blown Facebook marketing ads, blah blah blah, to pull in people, I need to focus on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like once I get that up and going, then I can say, hey, this is something that is what life coaching is. This is how you change your mindset. This is why as Christians we should be changing our mindset. This is how we do it. And then putting things out there. And I'm looking forward to creating the things that will help people work by themselves so that they can know me and learn me and trust me and then go forward as a personal coach. I'm okay with that part. It's that very initial, well, what's a life coach? You're like, oh, well, you're apparently not ready for it. But that's not either. That's lack of compassion on my part. It's like, well, those problems that you have that you just, you don't feel like you need a counselor to talk about your past and your childhood. You just want to know how to find the right way to a better way to think about your in-laws or start that business you want to start, or anything that you want to go forward with. That's what life coaching helps with. And then I just find I just run out of words. I'm like, well, yeah. and,
So
and
you can bridge that gap through the
uh-huh.
content, the
Yes,
gap of
yes, yes,
I don't know what a coach is
yes,
to, but because you did the niche clarity course.
yes.
So what did you come up with in there for
um,
your core message and then into how does your core message become kind of like a coaching solution?
well, I don't know where that's at. But what I did find out was, because I did that, and then I've been doing the podcast course that I've been doing too, and that all has been working through what did I do with that information? Hold on. A lot of it is, here we go.
You're
Well,
an
what I learned-
organization coach, so I know it's not too far away from you. You're going to easily find it because it
Yeah,
can't be too.
I have things in categories, but it's been a while since I've been there. So sometimes my categories get moved and then I don't remember where the things. Well, basically, the thing is, my struggle is, so I have everything out there as a professional organizer, but that's not what I want to focus on. I don't want to spend all of my time telling people how to organize their sock drawer. It's just not what I want to do. There's more important things. So working through the niche clarity, it just came up with, getting people out of the, and then what I also decided was I really need to do more research on this, but I want to help Christian women move from that anxious, overwhelmed, the world's telling them how fast they need to go, what they need to be involved in, and getting out of that path and saying, what is it that I'm supposed to do while I'm here? What does God have for me to do? And that's why I chose the name Living in His Purpose. You hear all over the place, for made on purpose, for His purpose, on purpose, on purpose. But I'm like, but that's putting all of the angst on us. What do we need to be doing? And I want to help Christian women understand that changing our mindset allows Christ to come over us and show us what we need to do. And then the result will be, they're not going to have all that anxiety. They're not going to have that overwhelm. They're going to have the peace. They're going to know where they can say, I don't need that right now because this is what I'm doing in my life. And I really struggle putting that in one sentence for people. I was like, what do you do? So I've been trying to visualize lately because I've been thinking about creating content. How am I going to put this in a format where, and I really like how you do the greenhouse and the gardening. And I'm honestly not copying because I've always wanted to have a greenhouse. I think that's one of the reasons I picked that one, picked you, is because I'm like, oh, she has a greenhouse too. But in my mind, I was just telling a friend this last night, in my mind, I see women, Christian women, they're not brave. They're not brave in their faith. They don't know what they need to know. They're not getting what they need out of the sermons that they're listening to. They're filling their time up with Facebook and everything else, and they're not feeding themselves. They don't see the importance of feeding themselves. They don't see how simple it is and how simple God's way. So in my mind, I have it where we start out and you're in a field of weeds and wildflowers. And some of the flowers are pretty, but it's really just a jumbled bunch of weeds. And what I want to move them through is out of the weeds and onto a path that leads them to a field of daisies, because I love daisies. Daisies mean a new beginning. They represent a new beginning. And I just think that's beautiful. And there are simple flowers and I love the petals. And in my mind, it's like each petal is an area of their life or a mindset that they have, or a part of the process, like the pearl process that you have. It's a part of the process. There's so many things I feel like I can do with that physically to make it part of a whole course. But how it's hard for me to tell people simply, you all need to wake up. As Christian women, we have such strength and it's being wasted. The enemy is filling women with so many lies, and it makes me
From the beginning of time.
yes from the beginning of time. But I feel
Grandma
like
Eve.
I know, right?
Hashtag Grandma Eve.
And my thing is that I want to encourage people Christian women is where I'm going. And there's not an age. And I get frustrated when it's like niche down, pick an age. And I'm like, I don't want to pick an age. That's not me. There are people who are 80 years old who need to change their mindset. And there are people who are 20 years old. It is a Christian woman thing. And my thing is, I feel this urgency because I feel that the world is falling apart. I feel like we're in the end days, but I also realize I can't go around talking like this to everybody because then I get labeled as a nut, so, but
it takes one to know one.
I know, right? Well, maybe.
Nuts are great.
Yeah. And so it's,
you can just say overwhelmed Christian women.
Yes. And so what I did have it written out, helping Christian women who are done being anxious and overwhelmed by the world's demands on their time, goals, and ideas. And I'm helping them to see that God has a unique plan and purpose from them right here and right now. And by using the Word of God as a guide, we're going to help create practical, simple changes in their lives, including like time management in their homes, and creating a foundation of peace and contentness and simplicity, so that they can hear what God's plan is and live it out bravely. And I really like that bravely part, because I feel like I know a lot of Christian women who are just like, well, this is just kind of how it is. And I'm like, nope, nope, we can't be that way anymore. That era is over. We need to move forward now. And I want to help people understand, because I didn't understand this for a long time. So in the last several days, I have been thinking, okay, what is my walk? Where am I going to take people from? What have I gone through that I can help people through? And I was one of these people. Well, I mean, you'd hear about all this stuff you're supposed to be doing in church, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. I don't, and it started with, gosh, it's probably been about 10 years ago now. God took me through a walk. It took a couple years, where he put into me the basic foundation that he loves me. Now, that's a really simple thing that we should all know as Christians.
It's the hardest thing to grasp, because it's
Absolutely.
supernatural and it's
Absolutely.
anti-human
Absolutely.
thought.
And most of us don't like ourselves, and we don't love ourselves. I mean, in the right way anyway. So we can't comprehend that. And so once I learned that lesson through many different avenues and experiences and things, once I grasped that, I'm like, holy cow, the whole world is different now. And so it just changes. It changes everything. And I just changed my mindset. I've been hearing the same thing for 20 years, but I didn't believe it. I didn't trust it. And then once I opened myself to do that, I've been able to hear what God has had to say and teach me all along the way. Now, I mean, but to say all that makes it sound like I have it together. And that's what I told my friend last night. I don't have it together. How am I going to help other people get it together if
But
I
here's
don't have it
nobody
together?
has it all together.
Right,
We're
right.
just I don't have it all together. I'm just showing up where I'm at with what I have instead of burying my talents like I used to. Right. And that's what you're doing. You're just stepping into having the talents that you've been given. And instead of burying them any longer, you're saying, I'm just going to use them for what they are.
Right.
All I can do, I can be 3 steps ahead of somebody. I don't need to be at the end.
Right.
I just need to be able to look back and go, I can tell you what these 3 steps are. And then by the time you get here, I'll be 3 more steps in front of you. And I'm just going to keep paving the path for you, because you're just going to bravely keep showing up. You're going to bravely keep walking.
Yeah.
All you have to do, you don't have to be at the top of the staircase. Because when you get to the top of the staircase, you're in heaven.
Yeah.
Don't help anybody.
That's true.
So,
true.
you just stay on the staircase where you're at and look back at people who are walking behind you and say, hey, watch out. On that stair's like a little bit creaky.
Right.
Oh, there's some water on that step.
Right.
Just watch where you're going. Here, hold the handrail. That's all you're doing, is you're guiding people that haven't walked. They just need some help walking. And you don't have to have done it perfect. You just need to be available. You just need to be present. I'm not doing everything in my coaching business perfect. But I just want to be available.
Right.
Because maybe between the two of us, we can figure it out. If all things are possible, let's figure it out together. How is this possible? And between the two of us, we can collaborate inside of a coaching relationship. And that's what you just need to be available and present. And you just need to show up, have the ministry of availability through your coaching business, where you can say to other Christian women, I don't have it all together perfectly, but that's not my goal anymore.
Right.
I'm not looking to have it together perfectly. I'm just looking to be available.
Right.
Looking to be present.
Right.
So then you show up present through creating content, starting your podcast, making coaching offers available to people. And then you just let them see that you don't have to show them that you have done it all well or perfectly. You just have to show them that you understand, that you have compassion for where they're at, but you also want to encourage them to be courageous and brave and take action. And you're more like me, where we have compassion, but sometimes, so our compassion is going to look different than some people's compassion, where compassion looks like a hug to them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hug you.
Yeah.
I am going to tell you what to fix, because I want you to stay stuck. And sometimes compassion, it just doesn't always look like the kind of compassion you give a newborn baby, right? It looks different. And compassion can be just knowing what the next right step is.
Right.
And so in nursing, you're a nurse. So, it's sometimes a patient wants to feel like validated and hugged and comforted, but the next right step is, I need to get you a dose of X, Y, or Z.
Right.
That is my compassion, is because my role in this relationship with you as a patient is to help you, help that to not become infected, not to sit here and cry with you right now. Somebody else can come do that step of compassion with you, but I'm equipped to do this piece. And this is compassion because it will benefit you now or in the long run. And you're going to do that in your coaching business, where you're going to say, like, maybe I'm not the warm, cozy. I'm not warm, cozy. Like, and I don't even pretend like I can be, but you have to be like 4 or under. Yeah. So you can ask my kids. I'm just like, okay, here's the deal. This is what you need to do. That's how I show compassion, is I have a solution for you.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, the solution will work. And the 1 time out of 10, when my solution doesn't work, come here, I'll give you a hug. Do you feel that? So we just all have our own flavor, and you're going to attract the people who are like, you know what? I don't need the fluff. Right. I want you to tell me, what is it straight? Yeah. Help me get my act straight. Help me straighten out and organize my inner life, my outer life, whatever it needs to happen. I am desperate. Right. And you're looking for people who are not as inspired to change, maybe, but you're probably really ready for the people who are desperate to change, because those people are going to take a different type. They're going to have a different energy behind the action they take. Yeah. And then I think, are there people out there like that? Are there people out there? Oh my gosh, the world is full of those people. Yeah. I promise you. But when I look around my world and I'm looking at people, and your clients are not in your world. They're not. I'm looking at them. My clients don't live in my neighborhood. My clients are not at my kids' school. Like we don't like, they're just because they live. I'm not telling you that anybody in my city doesn't need what I offer. Right. But we don't know each other. They're not in my sphere of influence. Right. That's our world, right? The sphere of influence that we have, the people who can hear our voice, whether it's spoken or not. And so that's why I say, like, organic marketing through long form content, like a video channel, a podcast, or a blog. Right. That's where you reach everybody else out there who is desperate. I've got to change my mind. Or like you said, there's a process between I don't know what my problem is, and now I understand what I need a solution for my problem. And so what you do is you need to create content that starts talking about the problem. You don't always have to talk about life coaching. You don't talk just about the solution. You talk about the problem. Right. And you mentioned earlier, like, you don't really want to niche down to an age group. You don't have to do that. But you can get really specific, and you can even talk to different age groups of Christian, overwhelmed, anxious Christian women. The thing about content is you're creating language so that when the specific people go look for you, they can find you because of their language. And so if you don't want to niche down to an age group, I would still recommend thinking about creating content every now and then that is specific to 3 different age groups. And we can break that down and say 20s and 30s, overwhelmed 20s and 30s Christian women. And you can just do a podcast episode that speaks directly to them about the types of challenges that they're experiencing because of the generation they live in, the culture that they is influencing them, and also the things that happen in your life when you're 20s, in your 20s and 30s. And then you can also create different types of content for people who are middle aged. Let's go 40 to 60 or even 65. And then you can do that the third part of life and say, like, here's what happens when you are, this is specific content to meet the needs of somebody who is 75, overwhelmed and anxious, because they're going to be overwhelmed by different types of things than the 25-year-old women. And that's the point of niching down to an age group, is that you speak to them because they all have different problems.
Right.
It's all one problem under an umbrella, but then you look underneath the umbrella and go, but this, imagine 3 women standing under an umbrella and they're all in 3 different age groups. And you look at them and they're going to say to you, we're all anxious and overwhelmed, but we're overwhelmed by different things and anxious about different problems and issues. So then you don't have to necessarily niche down, because you have tools to help them with their mind and their faith that will apply to everybody. But the problems are specific to their age group.
Right.
And that's where the content helps.
Right.
So you don't have to be a coach for one specific group of women in age, because you're going to say, like, I want to coach, my niche is overwhelmed, anxious Christian women. That's fine, because that's the stuff they're going to Google. They're going to go looking for help for anxiety and overwhelm, but they are going to add different words, which is, if you create content for each age group, then when they say, I'm anxious about being a new mom, you're not talking to the 75-year-old woman unless her name is Sarai. So, so you create content that speaks to those specific things, and that's easy to do. And you just contextualize your solutions, your knowledge, your encouragement. You contextualize that to them. Now, they can all work with you as a coach, and given their age group, you can just say to them, hey, I understand that the types of things that you're struggling with, I have tools that help you no matter what you're struggling with. We can walk through this together, and I can help guide you into less overwhelm and greater peace, right? You can do that, but your content has attracted them. Niching down has to do with a couple of things. One, you getting specialized rather than the general surgeon, right? You want the heart surgeon.
Right.
But then it's most beneficial in the content because of search engine optimization, the SEO, because people are searching for it. And then you have clients coming to you because they want what you have, and you didn't have to go do cold calling and try to explain to anybody what coaching is.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing is that you don't have to tell people all of the time you're a life coach, and you don't have to help them understand what coaching is. You have to help people understand, like in the niche clarity course, we talk about the problem and the solution, where I am, where I want to be.
Right.
Solution is the bridge between point A of I have this problem and point B, I've solved my problem, right?
Right.
So what you do is, instead of just telling people, well, I'm a coach, you just need coaching.
Yeah.
Nobody buys coaching.
Right.
They buy results.
Right.
And they don't care how you get them the results.
Right. Right.
So if you were to say, answer this, like, let me give you a Mad Libs, a couple of blank statements.
Okay.
Do you know how blank struggle with blank? I help them with that. So for you, the first blank is probably going to be overwhelmed, anxious Christian women. Well, you know how some Christian women are really like anxious and struggle with.
Right.
I help them with that.
Right.
You don't have to say, well, I do it through coaching, unless somebody says, then you can explain a little bit more. But when somebody says, what do? You say, well, like a financial investment advisor. They could just say, I'm a financial investment advisor, or they could say, Well, you know how people get to like 50 and start thinking, I don't know where my money is, and I don't know if I have any, and I don't know what my future looks like. I help them with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that explains to people what a financial investment advisor means, right? Rather than just giving the title, which is like your title in your company.
Right.
I'm a life coach. I'm a mindset coach. It doesn't really detail for somebody whether or not they need you.
Yeah.
But if somebody says, well, you know, with your organization, coaching, business, instead of just saying that, and somebody's never heard of that, well, you know how your pantry and your laundry room and your closet get really, really crazy? I help with that.
Yeah.
So if you were to talk about that, you know how Christian women struggle with what, how would you create a sentence around that?
So I feel that I would say, you know how Christian women feel like they don't have, this is what I want to say. You know how Christian women don't feel like they have the time to read their Bibles? Or I don't know. That's like, I get stuck on words. I'm like, I don't know. So, you know how Christian women feel overwhelmed by their schedules, how
That's all good.
yeah.
But you're going to keep working it out. You're going to be able to answer, you're going to be able to say all of these things again and again.
Right.
And you can even, depending on the person you're talking to, you know, the person in the grocery store, and the line's really long because I don't know, like one of my stores recently, it was a Target or something like that. And they recently made self-checkout 10 items or less. And I'm like, well, I'm never coming back. I only self-checkout because then they only have 2 cashiers for everybody else over 10 items. And you know, you're going to get yelled at for having 11 items by whoever's in line. So you're not having a good conversation with them.
Right.
Go over to the one of 2 lines that are really long because everybody has 14 items. And in that place, you might not say, well, do you know how Christian women, because they might not know Christian women. You can say, well, you know how a lot of Christian women just feel like overwhelmed and too busy, like they don't know how to find time to be with God.
Yeah.
And it's actually affecting the rest of their life. Well, I help them with that. I help them recover their time and manage themselves within the time frame that they can't change.
Right.
But at the grocery store, you might say, you know how women just get really overwhelmed with all that's on their plate?
Yes.
I help them figure out how to manage that.
Yeah.
So they have more peace.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me more about like, how do you do that? Well, I walk them through a six weeks of, we've got some tools and some worksheets, and we work together to dig into their real need and problem. And at the end of it, they have a plan to they know better how to manage themselves within time, because you can't manage time. You can only manage you.
Right.
You can't get more time. You just have to manage your thoughts better, your decisions, your commitments. I help them do that, and I help them make a plan for it. Also, I am faith-based, is what you could say if somebody who seemed like more interested. So then you can help narrow down the right people to work with, because if you don't mind, if you want to work with anybody, that's fine. But if you do specifically want to let them know, like, I am a Christian, so all of my content, all of my help is going to come from a faith-based perspective, that then you can add that. Or, you know, obviously at church, they're going to make an assumption, but when you're out out and about in the world, you don't have to start out that way.
Right. It feels weird to say that because I feel like it's labeling, and I don't want to label or put anybody in a box. I don't know.
But you do, like, here's the deal. When you have a niche, okay, and let's say your niche is overwhelmed Christian women.
Right.
That's going to make it possible for them to find you.
Right.
If you don't narrow it down at all.
Right.
But
well, I see that in my writing, in my marketing, in my website and stuff. But when I'm having a conversation with someone that that just feels awkward. That feels like I'm marketing when I say that. So I really do need to
When you
work
say what?
Christian women. When I just narrow it in like that, I feel like, I guess it would just depend on where I'm at or
Let me ask you this question. Let's go back to the grocery store line.
Right.
Okay. There's 4 people in front of you. You're not moving.
Right.
And
Right.
there's the one family like I used to be with 3 small children and a full grocery cart and nobody to help them. So
Mhm.
you're not moving. You're in a conversation with this woman and
Right.
you're telling her everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
And she's not a Christian and
Right.
she's not interested in any kind of Christianity, religion, faith, nothing.
Right.
Do you want to work with her?
Not particularly, because I mean, I would like to help her, but I don't know that I would be able to say things or present things that would not be from a faith base, because that's how I am. That's who I am.
Right.
I
So
mean, I
if
would,
she gets on a call with you and you spend
right.
half an hour with a free
Yeah.
discovery call that you offered
Yeah.
her in the grocery store,
Right.
is she going to want to buy something from you? Or is it going to feel like, well, I hope that I helped her a little bit,
Yeah.
but she's not going to choose me and she's not my ideal client.
Right.
And what happens if she buys, let's say she does invest and she gets your coaching package and she's signed up to work with you 6 times, but she doesn't enjoy it. And she
Mhm.
comes to all of her sessions like worried that you're going to throw your faith on her.
Right.
And she
Right.
doesn't like when you talk about God or the fact that you
Right.
want to pray in a session. And
Right.
you obviously you said, okay, we don't have to pray, but I will be praying for you while we're not in session. I just want to let you know I pray for all my clients. And she's really uncomfortable. So
Right.
now you're not going to get results and
Right.
you're not going to get results
Right.
because she's not your ideal client because you felt weird saying I work with Christian women.
No, and I would never let it go that far, because it would be more, I guess it's just getting used to saying the words, but I would not have a problem during that conversation to saying, I do work from, it's a faith-based life coaching that I do. So I wouldn't let it get that far at all. Definitely. I wouldn't have any trouble in that, but it just sounds so weird I guess because I've heard it so many times, like I help Christian women. I just feel like that's very.
Where are you hearing that?
Me and everywhere else that I have to write everything all the time. Maybe it's because I just keep saying it.
Because you keep saying it. So you're hearing it from you, but the people out there, they're not hearing it all the time.
Yeah.
So you're tired of it, but nobody else is.
Yeah. I hope Christian would. Maybe it's just me because I keep saying it over and over again. What do you do? What is this coaching? Well, I help Christian women. See,
okay, so let's come up with a new phrase that's
Okay.
not so exhausting to you and feels more authentic, So you don't have to say help either.
Yeah, and maybe that's it too. Maybe maybe
I walk women through a journey from overwhelm to, you could rephrase it any way that you want, whatever is in. Honestly, I recommend having 3 or 4 different ways to say it so that where you are fits the context. You're prepared with the sentence that makes sense for the person you're talking to. Right. So I walk with women on I help them go from overwhelm and anxiety to living from a place of peace and clarity. Yeah. I help them get rid of all the confusion. Yeah. A little bit of a brain dump and then fill their mind with the things that are really going to be helpful in their life. Can I sign up? Like, can we do this while that family's still checking out? Can you help me right now? I think you also haven't seen enough Christian women beg you for that because they want it. Well, and you just haven't been in a sphere of influence where you're seeing how much they need it. You know they need it in your own mind, but you don't have proof they need it. And you get some proof.
Exactly. So how do I do that?
Coach people.
It's pretty much just staying on the course that I'm on.
You're on a great course. You're taking a lot of big action. Yeah. So that's good.
Well, and I'm creating.
You need to get out of your sphere of influence. You need to expand it. I hope that you loved this episode and you feel challenged, inspired, and encouraged. If you're a coach or you want to be one, jump into the Christian Life Coach Collective Facebook group so we can connect over there. And to work with me, grab the links in the show notes to get quick clarity about your calling as a coach and entrepreneur, as well as how to get trained as a coach with Sterling & Stone and start your own business. Bless you, friend.